Hey, what's up, parents? Did you know that there's actually one thing that's quite possibly the most overlooked childhood epidemic facing our kids today? One thing that's causing the dramatic rise in the chronic health issues our kids are facing at epidemic levels, and that's birth trauma. Have you been told that your child's chronic health issues are a result of the 3 Gs? You know, the genetics, the gluten, maybe even the gut health? You know, the conventional medical system, it still blames genetics. Maybe even bad luck. And even holistic and natural doctors, they tend to get distracted and only talk about toxins like gluten, dairy, and pesticides in our foods and all these things. But what if there's way more to the story than just genetics, poor gut health, and gluten? You know, what if your child's chronic health issues and challenges were first triggered and set in motion long before that, during the very first moments of their life here on the outside? At birth. You know, after 2 decades of clinical practice, I can tell you without a doubt that the single biggest cause or trigger to chronic illnesses in kids is something that hardly no one is even talking about. Birth interventions and birth trauma are sometimes even necessary. Things like induction, C-section, vacuum extraction, forceps, and the likes. You know, in this video, we're going to explore the hidden connection between birth trauma, the brainstem, injuries, and this thing called neurological dysfunction and delays that our kids are facing at epidemic levels. You'll learn exactly how common birth interventions can trigger a cascade of neurodevelopmental issues, setting the stage literally for a wide range of chronic health issues and challenges, and discover a transformative approach to actually addressing the root causes of birth trauma and this neurologically focused chiropractic care thing that we're talking about. Recent studies have shown that assisted deliveries, even when necessary, particularly those involving forceps and vacuum extractions, are more common than previously thought. You know, approximately 30% of all babies born in the United States are born via C-section. In our practice, we often see children with chronic health issues, chronic challenges that can be traced all the way back to complications during birth and the pregnancy process. Things like colic, digestive problems, sleep disturbances, and even developmental delays. Birth interventions, such as the use of forceps, suction extractions, or the physical stresses associated with a C-section, often lead to this thing called neurospinal dysfunction, or subluxations, which are misalignments that interfere with this brain-body connection called the neurological system or the nervous system. You know, the most commonly and severely affected areas are this area right up at the top called the brainstem, the upper neck, and even the cranial and upper thoracic regions. Subluxations and neurological dysfunction on these particular areas, these spots, lead to immediate challenges with essential health functions of the infant and the child. Things like latching, things like swallowing, breastfeeding, sleeping, digesting their food, and so much more. Once this physical injury sets in and gets into this brain-body connection called the nervous system, and it's all out of balance, something called dysautonomia, a dysregulation sets in, leading to multiple bodily functions being off track. A dysfunction of the digestive, respiratory, immune system functions, sensory motor functions are all negatively impacted. Disruption of the nervous system function from birth trauma will affect the child's developmental milestones down the road as well. Problems such as delays in walking, talking, and other motor skills can sometimes be traced all the way back to nerve system impairments caused at the birth process. According to the latest research, the impact of birth trauma isn't always immediately apparent to doctors or even parents, and can manifest as various health issues over time, including digestive disorders, learning disabilities, and even behavioral and emotional regulation. These conditions, they're often the result of a compromised brain-body connection and the strained nervous system, which stem from that initial birth process. First, you know what? It's important to know that this is entirely overlooked and dismissed by medical doctors. And even if they did admit to how big of a problem this is, they're not going to really be able to do anything about it. You know, at Trinity Life Center, we first dive extra deep into your child's case history. We want to listen and hear their story, helping to determine if birth intervention or birth trauma played a role in their challenges and their symptoms. You know, the most important things you can do to find out if birth trauma and nervous system and dysfunction actually is existing and dysregulation causing your child's health issues is get to our office for a series of neurological examinations called the insight scans, which allow us to see incredibly clearly, first and foremost, if subluxation and the nervous system dysfunction is even happening. Second, if that is happening, how much and how significant are these irritations? And third, if that's going on, how much care and how long would it take for us to restore this connection between brain and body so that your child can get back on track and healthy? You know, as we've explored today, the impact of birth trauma on your child's health can be profound, incredibly long-lasting. Unfortunately, this critical issue often goes unaddressed for years within our standard medical system, and even in most holistic and natural health practices. But there's hope, and there's solutions outside of the conventional treatment that can make a real difference in your child's life and their future. It all begins with that first step. Connect with us. If you do have questions, comment below, reach out to us, and schedule that appointment so that we can stop asking questions and start giving you answers.